Welcome to Global Signs, everyone. I'm Bruce Han from London. We'll be speaking with Scott'itin, innovative and dynamic CEO of Niba우라. Scott is a long-term resident of London and an American expatriate. Scott, thank you so much for joining us today.
Bruce, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, can you tell our viewers about Niba우라 and your main product?
Sure. So Niba우라 is a fintech, a financial technology company. We were started in about 2017 by a group of founders led by a very smart former physicist, interestingly enough. And the idea was to try to address some of the workflow problems in debt capital markets. So we started down our path using distributed ledger technology, so DLT, and we thought that that would be the answer to making the debt capital markets issuance process, so the issuance of bonds, much easier. We started to develop that. We had some notable wins. We were the first company to ever digitize a crypto-denominated bond. We did that in 2017 for a client. We then did the first ever bond issuance on a public blockchain on Ethereum in 2019.
Scott, a year has passed since Brexit. What has changed compared to before and after Brexit?
So a year later, it's it's difficult to separate the effects of COVID from the effects of Brexit. Up to August 21st, the trade, I believe, was back to just 7% below its 2019 levels with the rest of the world, but it was 15% below its 2019 levels for trade with Europe. So it's been economically a negative.
How are Brits evaluating Brexit at this point?
So I think people are split. They continue to be split, much like, interestingly enough, in America, you have the hard right and hard left. I think here we continue to have a very divided country of Brexit proponents and Brexit objectors. So it's back and forth. I do think people are beginning to recognize that the economic impact was much greater than they anticipated. You know, things that were supposed to be made easier are actually being made more difficult with Brexit.
One of the major changes in the global financial market this year is the abolition of LIBOR. This has raised concerns about the UK's status as a major financial center. What do you think about these concerns?
I believe the fears are overblown a little bit. I too held those fears. There were concerns about banks leaving London. It turns out that some of those concerns haven't passed through, haven't actually occurred. So, as an example, banks, while they have put people on the continent, so there are global hubs in Paris, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam, most notably, there's still a very big presence here. I think that some of the core features that drove the financial markets towards London to begin with, so stability of the economy and the predictability and strength of the rule of law, will probably keep business here. I think we also benefit from the nature of our time zone. We are nicely placed in between Asia and America.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he'll make the UK the first country to be free from coronavirus restrictions. What are the public's expectations of the coronavirus situation and economic reopening?
People really want to get back to life as it was previously. However, there's some nervousness, and I think the UK government had done a great job early in the pandemic in terms of relaying their concerns. Some might call it a little element of fear-mongering. I was in the city of London yesterday, and in the financial district, and it's about maybe 50-60% what it used to be. So you still notice that tables aren't filled in restaurants at lunchtime, as an example. There is a lot of foot traffic. So I think generally people are positive. It's probably going to take a little bit longer to flush through and get comfortable with it.
With increasing tension between the U.S. and China, how should South Korea position itself? What are the benefits to Korean companies in a new Cold War?
Korea is a fabulous ally of the U.S. and of the West generally. Your companies are outstanding. I kind of think you're well positioned to take advantage of things. You've got a great technology sector. great innovation. So you can imagine further restrictions on either Chinese imports to the U.S., and that's a spot for Korea to step in and be the provider of choice of many goods and services.
Now, Scott, finally, what are the most interesting sectors, most promising stocks for 2022?
In the traditional sectors, at the moment, I like oil and gas, so Exxon and Chevron. I don't think carbon is going away. Oil could trend towards $100 a barrel. I think this morning it was up over $92 a barrel when I checked. At the moment, I kind of like the electronic vehicle space. Rivian and Lucid are both interesting. I think Lucid more so. The founder of that company is the former head of engineering at Tesla. I also like battery manufacturers. So in your neck of the woods, LGenergiSolutions, I think is very exciting. And then I think I'd probably also look in the related space of lithium mining. So the Chilean company SQM looks interesting to me. I recently discovered in the ETF space, there was one called iWin, which is has an allocation of up to 20% in Bitcoin. So you can actually get some cryptocurrency exposure, and the rest is commodities. And then the last one that I would suggest I'm looking at is called Redwood Resources out of Nevada. They're a private company. They're expected to go public, I imagine, later this year. And they're in the recycling space, and not bottles and cans, but much more interestingly in battery recycling. So as we think about electric cars and renewable energy, right? Renewable energy, it's all about.
Scott'Iton, dynamic and innovative CEO of outstanding fintech company Niba우라 in the UK. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your insights on the market.
Bruce, it's a pleasure. It's always great to see you.
Thank you very much. Scott'Iton recommends many stocks to our viewers today. His recommendations are Exxon, Chevron, Lucid Group, LGenergiSolutions, SQM, IWIN, and Redwood Materials, which will go public very soon. Thank you so much for being with us today, and until we meet again next week, please be safe, healthy, and vigilant.